Once upon a time, in a faraway land, there lived a poor fisherman in a large city by the sea. This fisherman was burdened by poverty, yet he had strong faith in God and relied on him for everything. Each morning, the fisherman would go out to the sea and cast his net exactly 4 times a day, believing that this was his allotted provision and not seeking more. One day, as usual, the fisherman went out and cast his net into the sea. After a short while, he felt the net grow heavy, so he pulled it up with great effort, hoping for a bountiful catch. But when he brought the net up, he found nothing but a dead donkey entangled in mud and debris. The fisherman was disappointed but not disheartened. He repaired his net and cast it into the sea a second time. On his second try, when the fisherman pulled up the net, he found it filled with sand and seaweed, but no fish at all. Sighing deeply, the fisherman fixed his net once more and threw it into the sea for a third time. This time the net felt even heavier than before. The fisherman pulled with all his might, and when he opened the net, he found a large brass jar sealed tightly shut. At first the fisherman was overjoyed, thinking the jar might contain a great treasure. But upon closer inspection, he noticed the jar was sealed with the name of King Solomon, son of David. Curious and intrigued, the fisherman decided to open the jar to see what was inside. Using a large stone, the fisherman pried open the jar, and no sooner had he done so than a thick smoke began to billow out, rising high into the sky. The smoke swirled and condensed into a strange, terrifying shape, and after a few moments it transformed into a massive genie, so tall that his head touched the clouds and his feet were planted firmly on the ground. The fisherman was struck with terror and shook with fear at the sight of the genie. The genie spoke, "Know, O fisherman, that you have freed me, and for that you shall receive a great reward." But the fisherman, despite his fear, asked the genie how he came to be trapped in the jar. The genie replied, "Know, O mortal, that I was one of the jinn who rebelled against the orders of King Solomon. He captured me and ordered me to be imprisoned in this jar, sealed it with his name, and cast it into the depths of the sea. Centuries passed while I was trapped here, and at first I vowed to reward whoever freed me with untold riches. But as time went on and no one freed me, my anger grew, and I swore to kill whoever released me. You, fisherman, are my liberator, and now you must die." The fisherman froze in terror at the genie's threat, but he was clever and quickly devised a plan. Feigning astonishment, he said to the genie, "How can it be that you, with such immense size, were ever contained within this tiny jar? I cannot believe it unless I see it with my own eyes." The genie, filled with pride, laughed and said, "Foolish human, do you doubt my power? Watch and see." With that, the genie began to transform once more into thick smoke, and the smoke slowly swirled back into the jar. Without wasting a moment, the fisherman quickly grabbed the lid, sealed the jar tightly, and placed the seal back on it. He called out to the genie inside the jar, "Now I have you trapped once more, and I shall cast you back into the sea where you will remain forever." The genie began to beg the fisherman for mercy, saying, "Please, O fisherman, release me, and I promise to be your loyal servant. I will not harm you but grant you whatever you wish." The fisherman, still wary of the genie's deceit, replied, "You promised me death just moments ago. How can I trust you now?" The genie continued to plead, "Do not punish me for my previous anger. I have learned my lesson, and if you free me, I will grant you wealth and treasures beyond your wildest dreams." After some consideration, the fisherman decided to give the genie one last chance. However, he made the genie promise that he would not harm him and would indeed grant him something that would change his life for the better. The genie swore to the fisherman, and so the fisherman released him once again. As soon as the genie was free, he gestured toward the sea and said, "Follow me." The fisherman and the genie walked together until they reached a small lake filled with crystal clear water. The genie said, "O fisherman, cast your net into this lake and you will witness something extraordinary." The fisherman hesitated but followed the genie's instructions. He cast his net into the water, and when he pulled it out, it was full of 4 strange fish, each of a different color: red, blue, yellow, and white. The fisherman marveled at the fish, and the genie asked, "Are you not amazed by these fish?" The fisherman replied, "Indeed, I have never seen fish like these before." The genie said, "Take these fish to the king who rules this land, and you shall receive riches beyond your dreams." Then the genie vanished as mysteriously as he had appeared, leaving the fisherman astonished. The fisherman took the fish and went to the palace to present them to the king. When the royal cook saw the fish, he was amazed and decided to cook them in front of the king. As the cook placed the fish in the pan, something strange happened. A woman appeared from the wall and began speaking to the fish, saying, "Are you still faithful to the covenant?" The fish answered in unison, "Yes, we are still faithful." Then the fish flipped over on their sides, and suddenly they caught fire. The cook and the king were stunned by what they had just witnessed, and the king ordered that the fisherman be brought to him immediately. When the fisherman arrived, he recounted his story of the genie and the enchanted lake to the king. The king decided to go to the lake himself and ordered the fisherman to guide him there. When they arrived at the lake, the king was mesmerized by its beauty and the clarity of its waters. But the king was not just interested in the fish. He wanted to uncover the mystery of the woman who had appeared to the cook. The king commanded his soldiers to dive into the lake and search for any secrets hidden within it. After some time, they discovered an ancient palace beneath the water, inhabited by an old king. This king had been betrayed and cursed by one of his enemies, turning him and his soldiers into fish of different colors, while his palace was submerged under the lake. The king was moved by the old king's plight and ordered that the curse be lifted. Through the efforts of the benevolent king and his soldiers, the old king was restored to his original form, and his reign was returned to its former glory. As for the fisherman, the generous king rewarded him richly, giving him treasures that ensured he would live the rest of his days in happiness and prosperity. And so, the story of the fisherman and the genie came to an end, leaving behind a moral that intelligence and patience can save one from the most difficult situations, and that goodness ultimately triumphs over evil, no matter the odds.